I decided to go on vacation for 4 days, and this is what I get. Hello guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about all the blockbuster trades that have happened in the NHL over the last couple of weeks, deals that I either didn't have time to talk about on the channel, and big deals that happened while I was on vacation. We're going to be breaking down everything here and grading every single deal. So make sure you watch till the end as we go through all the nitty-gritty details of all these deals and my thoughts on all these trades, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content all year round, presented by BetUS. As I mentioned before, I went on vacation from Tuesday to Friday, but I had all my video content done on Monday. And of course, as I got done with pretty much everything, the Patrik Laine deal drops, and the NHL wasn't done either. We saw Rutger McGroarty finally get dealed. Yaroslav Askarov officially asked for a trade and get dealt as well later to the San Jose Sharks. But now we're going to go into every single one of these deals in one video and go through all of it. Now we're going to get into the bigger trades as the video goes on. But first, I wanted to start with the Nashville and Pittsburgh trade with Cody Glass going to the Penguins. Now this deal was pretty interesting details-wise because you had Cody Glass first going to Pittsburgh. But on top of that, you had a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 sixth rounder. In exchange, Nashville only got prospect Jordan Friska, which most likely will be an ECHLer for life. But as we know, this deal will mostly be a cap dump. In Cody Glass's case, he makes $2.5 million for this year and will be an RFA afterwards. But for Nashville, they were pretty tight to the cap with their major free agent additions, and they still had two big RFAs in Philip Tomasino and Juuso Parssinen. Especially in Tomasino's case, he was somebody that I think Nashville really wanted to sign. He's somebody that has been just kind of right on the edge, right on the borderline of bursting onto the NHL. But he's somebody that I think Nashville really wanted to keep, really wanted to have as a good contract. Even though they haven't signed either of these guys yet, that cap space will prove really influential to making it happen. But I've always been a big supporter of Cody Glass. Injuries have really limited him and his pro upside, but I think for Pittsburgh, there is still something to get out of it. He's somebody that I thought last year played pretty well with Nashville, 35 points, 14 goals in 72 games. This last year was another year with some inconsistencies, some injury, bad luck, and hopefully with a new team in Pittsburgh, a fresh new start again, Cody Glass is able to get something going. I think for Glass, we've probably seen the best of him, but hopefully he's able to find a home in Pittsburgh and make it work. As for the trade grades, I'm going to give this a pretty even score. I give Pittsburgh a B-. Getting a third-round pick on top ain't too bad. And for Nashville, a C+. I mean, that cap space was needed, and hopefully they can use it correctly. Now we go on to one that is quite unfortunate, and it really leads on to the offer sheets between St. Louis and Edmonton that we talked about, and that is the Vasili Podkolzin trade. Now, the details really aren't all that crazy. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers end up getting Podkolzin, but the Canucks end up getting Ottawa's fourth rounder from this next year. Here's the thing. It's been no secret my distrust in Podkolzin's game over the years. He's somebody that I was a lot lower on in the 2019 draft process, and he's somebody that, as a prospect, hasn't really done much to change my mind. Back in his draft year, he was somebody that was trying to make these incredible moves, but really didn't have the skill set to do it, but was propped up as this super skilled player, even though I saw more of a physical project in the end. I wanted to see him prove me wrong in Vancouver, but he really was never able to find his footing with the Canucks, and that's a big shame. Now, saying all that, he is just 23 years old still, and I do think in Edmonton, this could be a really interesting situation for him if he's kind of in the same position that Holloway was at in the playoffs, where he's plugged around the best players that Edmonton has. But I think at this point, he's at best a solid physical fourth line player. That's, I think, where the value is coming from. But you could see last year, he was mostly an AHLer, getting 28 points in 44 games. I think there is still something to unlock there. I think the physical habits he has are strong. He's somebody that I think has adapted well to the AHL game specifically. But translating that on a consistent basis to the NHL has been a problem. But I guess that's not too far away from what Holloway has been either. But I look at it in the lens of both teams, especially in Vancouver's case, where they turn a 10th overall pick into a fourth rounder. And in Edmonton's case, they turn Holloway into Podkolzin, which I think is a pretty big downgrade. And I can't help but feeling like it's a loss for both teams. Personally, if I was the Oilers, I would have just matched Holloway's deal and let Broberg go. Even with the Ceci trade, I think they could have had some cap space there, but I get it. You don't want to pay those massive deals, especially with the term that they have, and Podkolzin is a lot safer there. Still, though, I think for the trade grades, I'm going to give Edmonton a D+ and Vancouver a C-. Another thing is, I didn't like that last Oilers trade or really how they handled that situation, but the good news is that I really love this next deal for the Oilers, and that is the Cody Ceci deal. Ceci, one of the greatest memes in the NHL, just continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. He's somebody, though, that $3.25 million, had one more year left in his deal, and was somebody that was looked at as a major trade piece, with Edmonton needing some cap space. They were going to match Holloway and Broberg, and they ended up trading Ceci in the end, which I thought was going to lead to them matching one of those deals, potentially even Broberg's, but that did not come to pass. Still though, I think getting rid of Ceci is a addition by subtraction in a lot of ways, and honestly, I think with what Edmonton was able to do, it was a pretty successful deal. Sure, Edmonton does have to get rid of a third-round pick to get rid of Cody Ceci, but the player they got back, I think, makes it worth it. Former Badger Ty Emberson, I think, is extremely underrated, and this last year when he was healthy for San Jose was one of their better D. You can see in 30 games, he got 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points, but defensively is really the bread and butter here. The physical play he's able to possess, the skating ability. He's somebody that has a lot of good physical habits already, and is somebody that for San Jose, I think, was a pretty undervalued piece. This is somebody I could absolutely see coming into Edmonton's system and surprising a lot of people. If he stays healthy and plays like he did last year, this is the exact type of bottom pair defensive piece I think Edmonton should be adding. And in Emberson's case too, being pretty young at 24, that's a pretty big add. Honestly, if Emberson stays healthy and Edmonton gives up a third-round pick for him straight up, I don't think that would have been too bad of a deal, but they get rid of the Cody Ceci contract as well, and I think it is a home run for them. In San Jose's case, I guess Cody Ceci can eat up minutes, and a third-round pick is a third-round pick, but I think in terms of the actual trade grades here, Edmonton did fantastic. I'm going to give the Oilers a straight A, and the San Jose Sharks a C+. Now, before we get into the major trades, I first want to talk about today's sponsor in BetUS. They've been big supporters of the channel, and when you guys support them, it supports me as well. And with BetUS, with the NHL season coming up, there's so many opportunities to win big. You get an 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500. You get 24/7 customer service and payouts, and the best rates in the industry. You can go through so many different options in the NHL. You can go through different points scored by different players. You can go through Alexander Ovechkin and the potential goal record. You can go through Calder Trophy winners, all the different awards there. You can go through specific players. You can also go through divisions if you're feeling one team to win the Atlantic, Metro, Central, or Pacific. You can also go for the Stanley Cup winner. And right now, I just placed $5 down to win 45 by the end on the Edmonton Oilers. They're looking pretty strong this upcoming season. I have an interesting feeling about them, but if you have a gut feeling for a specific team, you can go through any of them here on BetUS. Sign up today by going in the description down below, and thank you so much to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Now let's talk about one of the 3 major deals that happened while I was gone, and first we're going to talk about the Rutger McGroarty deal. We have been talking about this for a while on the channel over the past few months. McGroarty, of course, requesting a trade from the Winnipeg Jets. We knew he was on the block. We knew that he could have been dealt at the draft, but didn't end up being dealt. And we were just playing the waiting game at this point. He was as well, trying to see what his next team might be. But here comes Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins sweeping in to save the day for McGroarty, and I think the fit is pretty spectacular. The Penguins needed some more youth talent. They needed some NHL-ready players, and McGroarty is somebody that I think in Pittsburgh especially could get a massive opportunity. Now, we talked about McGroarty before, and he's somebody that I liked quite a bit going back to his draft year, and I thought by Winnipeg was a great pick at 14th overall. Good value there, but I still think there were some issues even now with his NHL skating speed, with some of the consistency issues he has, but he's somebody that I think in the right situation, if he sheltered a good bit, could have put up some pretty big numbers. This last year in Michigan, 16 goals, 52 points in 36 games. He's somebody that I do think has some good talent here with his physical traits, with the shooting ability, with the leadership he has on the ice as well. He's somebody that I think just has a great overall balance in the game offensively, and I think for Pittsburgh is the exact type of top 6 piece they could really use right now. In exchange, though, for the Winnipeg Jets, they end up getting Brayden Yager, who was the 14th overall pick in 2023, just a year after Rutger McGroarty. And to me, this was pretty much the best case scenario for the Jets. With McGroarty and his value, we knew it wasn't going to be at that tip-top shape, considering the trade request and everything. But to get another 14th overall pick in exchange and a solid one in Brayden Yager ain't too bad whatsoever. Now, I do think between the two, I think Rutger McGroarty is the better overall piece, but I think Brayden Yager, in terms of the shooting ability, in terms of the power play opportunities he brings, he's somebody that is going to be a great goal scorer, a great offensive piece at the next level. As a centerman at 5'11", he's somebody that really grew this last year with Moose Jaw, getting 95 points, 35 goals in 57 games. And he was able to show a lot more of a playmaking balance to his game too. And that's something that we wanted to see more out of him. He was able to show that. Was pretty great as well for Canada at the U20 World Juniors. He's somebody that I think will be still a bit of a project, but for Winnipeg, all the offensive pieces they have coming up, Yager is going to be another great power play guy to add to that group. I honestly think for both prospects, this was best case scenario. I think for Yager, Pittsburgh would have been a good spot for him, but I think in Winnipeg, he's going to be surrounded by great offensive playmakers that can feed him the puck in really consistent ways. And in Rutger McGroarty's case, I don't think he was going to get that opportunity in Winnipeg. He certainly will get that in Pittsburgh, with them being really thin on top-end guys, especially on the younger side of things. McGroarty is going to get all the opportunity here and all of the chances to be the guy he can be. And this will be it. Pittsburgh is the destination that he needed, and we'll see if he actually shows up or not. As for the trade grades, though, I love this trade for both sides involved. I think for Pittsburgh, it is an A+, and for Winnipeg, considering the trade request and everything to get Yager back is pretty great, I'm going to give them a straight A too. Now we move on to the most recent blockbuster here, though, involving Nashville and the San Jose Sharks, and involving Yaroslav Askarov, top goalie prospect in this league. And it's been a fascinating roller coaster with this one, because over the past few months, we've heard some discontentment about Askarov and the big time contract extension that UC Saros was able to get. That really blocked Askarov's chances from being the full-time starter for Nashville long-term, and I think Askarov knew that, and we would eventually see Askarov, of course, request a trade from Nashville, which I think, honestly, is pretty fair. I think Askarov is capable of major things, and I think he is capable of being a starter in this league, and now, of course, he gets traded to the San Jose Sharks, which will have a massive opportunity for him. That's something that I wanted to see San Jose go after, was this big-time starting goaltender prospect. That, I think, was the major issue with San Jose's pool, and they get it here. In Askarov's case, he's somebody that in the AHL has performed exceedingly well. This last season, a .911 save percentage in 44 games, and look at that record, a 30-13-1 record. I'm not a record guy usually, but that's pretty good for a young goaltender like this. He's somebody that has adapted well already to the pro game, and I think next year could absolutely be in the Sharks tandem, could be up to that level. He's already signed a contract extension and is ready to go. There are some issues there with the glove hand at points, but man, the confidence he has, the moxie that he brings, San Jose fans are going to love this guy. Now, for the actual trade details, of course, the San Jose Sharks get Yaroslav Askarov. They also get Nolan Burke and a 2025 third-round pick. In exchange, the Nashville Predators get David Edstrom, who already has been traded twice in his career somehow. You also get Magnus Kroma as another goaltender and a 2025 first-round pick, which isn't San Jose's, is not San Jose's, don't worry, but still a first rounder. From Nashville's perspective, I get it. In Askarov's case, they didn't really have much momentum there, and there was some rumors that he wouldn't end up reporting to training camp, which would have been an absolute disaster. And I think the return wasn't horrible. A first-round pick, and David Edstrom, who I think is a first-round caliber prospect. It's kind of a little bit strange that he's already been dealt twice, but at the same time, I think he'll be a solid, responsible middle six center of the future. Nothing absolutely insane, but for Nashville, they likely weren't going to get anything insane in this deal anyway. But I think the upside here for San Jose is incredible in Askarov. What they're able to get here is a top-tier goaltending prospect, especially since that 2020 range in the drafts. We haven't really seen too many great goaltending prospects, at least especially from this last draft. There are some guys here and there that have been really exceptional, really solid, but in Askarov's case, he's been one of the premier goaltending prospects for a long time, being drafted 11th overall by Nashville. He is the real deal and will be the real deal for San Jose and fits their timeline pretty perfectly. Now you got a wealth of prospects like Macklin Celebrini, Sam Dickinson, William Eklund. You got so many different guys here in San Jose that are going to be massive contributors for this team. But again, to me, the major issue was goaltending. You have Kerr, who could have been an option, Benjamin Agutro, I guess, but they needed a top-tier goaltender to really solidify this future core, and they got it here at Askarov. They got their guy officially. And of course, there's always a chance that goaltending prospects don't work out, and in Askarov's case, he hasn't proven himself yet, but Askarov is about as good of a chance as you can get among the goaltending prospects out there in being a long-term starter and being an electrifying piece. And for San Jose, I just love they got this type of guy in their squad. As for the trade grades, I'm going to give the San Jose Sharks a straight A, and for Nashville, I don't think they did bad, but I'm going to give them a straight B. But now we go on to the final trade to talk about here today, and of course, it is the Patrik Laine to Montreal Canadiens deal. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, so let's get into it, folks. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we knew that Montreal was a frontrunner for Laine. There were other teams out there like Minnesota as well that were trying to inquire about his services, trying to make something happen. But Montreal was always one of the teams that made the most sense in terms of positional need, in terms of how aggressive their GMs and management has been before. it made complete sense that Kent Hughes can make this deal, can make it happen, could pull it all off, and he does it again. As for the details, the Montreal Canadiens not only get Patrik Laine, but they also get a 2026 second-round pick as well from Columbus. In exchange, the Blue Jackets get defenseman Jordan Harris, who is somebody that we also proposed for quite a while, could be a piece of a Laine deal, or really any deal, getting a top end forward. In Laine's case, he was just the last piece of the puzzle for this Montreal forward group, and you love to see it. Now, with getting Ivan Demidov and Michael H from this last draft, you have so many options for the Habs. You got, of course, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Kirby Dach, so Yaroslav Askarov already in the mix, but you add these two guys, and you now have a solidified top six. You even have guys like Alex Newhook, who could be in that race, but will likely have to settle for third line minutes. It's insane now, the quality that Montreal has coming up, and I think it was an issue really going up to this last draft of where the offense was going to come from. But this offseason, Montreal focused on getting long-term scoring, and they did about the best job they possibly could. Now, yes, there are some massive risks with Patrik Laine, especially now that we know that Montreal took on all of his contract. It is a big cap hit, but let's be honest, Montreal isn't going anywhere anytime soon still. And I think for the Habs, they're one of the few teams out there that could stomach that whole deal, and I think for them, the cost was certainly low because of it. But at 26 years old, we know what Laine is capable of. We know what he can do, the goal scoring he can provide. 44 goals back in 2018. And even though he hasn't been able to live up to those expectations since then, it's largely because of injuries. And you look at what Columbus' center situation has been since he got there, and it's been horrid. It's been absolutely dreadful. His best options have been Boone Jenner. What's he really supposed to do with that long term? And we had so many different controversies with Laine and the trade request and everything that happened there. It made sense. Columbus needed to move on. They needed to make something happen. And getting rid of his whole cap hit, I really didn't expect that to be a reality for Columbus, and they made it happen. But I think for Montreal, if healthy, if he can be Laine at his best, then this is an electric piece for the Montreal Canadiens to add. A exceptional piece as well for the power play. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. I think Montreal's power play is something they really need to improve on over the next few years if they want to be this big contending team in the NHL. Laine is somebody that will help that tremendously. And now you got two great goal scorers in Caulfield and Laine, and hopefully there will be less pressure for both of them now that they're on the same team. And you also get a second round pick as well in the deal, which is just incredible. I mean, that's largely, I think, because of the lack of retained salary, but the fact they were able to get Laine a second round pick, able to solidify that forward group, I think for the future, it's a massive win for this Habs roster. I already thought they were okay if they didn't trade for another top six guy because they selected Demidov, because they got Michael Hage, but I mean, it's insane the options they're going to have. They're at least going to have two top six guys on their third line, in potentially Newhook and Hage, potentially Caulfield. I mean, potentially Dach. I don't even know where it goes from now on, but that's just the options that Montreal has given themselves. And hey, if Laine doesn't work out, they're not committed to him long term. It's only 2 more years left on this deal, and it's not a long-term fixture on the team. So no matter what, I think for Montreal, they win here. I think for Columbus, though, setting out to get rid of as much cap as possible in this deal, they did a good job. They got rid of all of Laine's deal, and I think the player going back in Jordan Harris is pretty underrated. With the player we know he can be, the IQ-driven, responsible game he provides, I think he'll be a pretty solid D for Columbus and exactly the type of presence they need more of. They need more quiet, solid, sturdy defensemen. Sure, is he big? Absolutely not. But he plays the game so smartly, so compactly, and I think for Columbus, he's going to be the perfect player for that bottom pair. And he's also pretty young, too, at 24 years old. There's not much of a commitment there either, and I think for Harris, his game is still growing quite a bit. It was obvious, though, for Montreal, for the logjam they had on defense, they needed to trade somebody before the year. They still might have to, but in Harris's case, he made the most sense. As for the trade grades, I'm going to give Montreal an A+ for this deal, checking all the boxes off of this Laine acquisition. And for Columbus, I'm going to give them a B+, getting rid of all that cap, getting a player like Jordan Harris back. It's not too bad either. But those are my grades and thoughts on all of the major deals in the NHL over the last little bit, and I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell if you did, and of course, comment down below all your thoughts on all these trades, all your draft grades as well. Let me know all your thoughts. Share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online, and make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already, and click on this card for all the trade content in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great hockey day, and goodbye. And of course, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video.